Going down that dirt road.
Welcome to Lake Placid, New York's Olympic Village, home of the 1932 and 1980 Winter Olympics, where history was made and continues to be made every day by people like you and me. Welcome to the show. We are Lake Placid, brought to you by the Lake Placid News, Lake Placid's hometown newspaper. I'm the editor, Andy Flynn, and we're celebrating all the people, residents, visitors, sports legends, who make this one of the best places to live on Earth. We are Lake Placid. One of my favorite things to cover in Lake Placid is the Miracle on Ice Fantasy Camp. It happened in late March of this year, and it's where most of the 19 surviving members of the Miracle on Ice hockey team from the 1980 Winter Olympics come, and they spend time with about more than 60 people who are enthusiastic about skating and hockey and meeting the Miracle on Ice team. I think there were about 14 members this year from the team, surviving members. This interview was from, I like this interview because you'll hear some of the goings on. I caught up with Steve Janaszak, and he was the goalie, one of the goalies, the backup goalie. His number was number 1, but he never played during the Olympics on ice during any of the games. He was the only guy on the 20-member squad not to play during the Olympics. Well, he knew going into it, as you'll hear from this interview. Herb Brooks told him he wasn't going to play, but somebody had to be the backup, right? In case something happens to Jim Craig, who was the goalie, and but somebody had to be a backup. Something happened to Jim, then Steve Janaszak would have to step in. And anyway, so listen to the tape. Okay. Roll the tape.
It was a great win and everything, but I think everybody kind of figured that life would go on, and it didn't really realize how it registered on the population as a whole.
Okay. Well, you were inside the bubble.
Yes.
I mean, seeing things from a athlete's perspective, maybe didn't.
No, we were playing hockey games,
yeah.
And I remember picking up a copy of the New York Times on Saturday morning and seeing that we were a front page story, and thinking that was probably unique. I mean, I'm White Bear Lake, Minnesota. I don't know the New York Times that well, but so it was probably my first indication that it was registering somewhere outside of the bubble.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't realize that because a lot of people, they're not athletes.
No, and you kind of have to dial it back to a moment in time, right, when the Olympics were a different event than what we see now in South Korea and Sochi and everything, where it's a much bigger production. I mean, this place was a very, very, it was neat. It was cool to be here, but it was not a big media production like it is now.
What was it like being your number 1? But you didn't play. But what's that experience?
It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I mean, when you're a player, you're wired to play, and Herb was actually very clear that he was going to play Jimmy through the whole thing. He was upfront with me about that, and I respect that. I just did what I could do to try and stay out of the way.
I don't want anybody to step on.
And when the 35th anniversary came along, you were here for that.
Right.
And the whole team, I remember covering it, the whole team had the most wonderful things to say about you.
They're really kind guys. Trying to make me feel better after 35 years.
But then the fantasy camp came along. Tell me about that experience.
Well, this has really been a unique experience. I mean, Orta has done an amazing job in putting together an experience for the campers that we've just loved to participate in. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
So, and have you been here since day one?
Oh, yeah.
The first one?
Oh, yeah.
And am I correct in assuming that this kind of inspired you to get back on the ice?
Well, the first camp, yeah, I'm watching the goaltenders, right? And they're all my age. Actually, Stanley is a few years older. I'm saying, you know what? I can do this. This looks like they're having way too much fun. So I bought a pair of pads and played for a couple of years. And then last year, I couldn't walk for 2 months after the camp was done. My knees are telling me no more. Yeah.
When you say you're a lot, you played a little bit,
yeah.
In order to get in shape to do
yeah.
this. Where did you play?
We were living on Long Island at the time, and they have kind of midday hockey at one of the rinks on Long Island, so they have like a noon skate, kind of pickup hockey. go down and play against some of the guys for an hour and a half.
Can you say the rink and where it was?
It was the complex is the rinks, and I want to say it's Hauppauge, but I don't recall the exact town. It's a town that a little bit east of where we were living.
Okay, Suffolk County.
Suffolk County. If you look it up, it's the rinks. RINX.
Okay.
It's a 2-rink complex.
Oh, that should be easy enough.
Yeah, it's easy.
My family is from Glen Cove, the North Shore.
Okay, yeah.
So.
This is Middle Island, kind of Middle Island, South Shore. I want to say Hauppauge.
Yeah.
Is about right. It's Motor Parkway, out a little bit east of us. I know how to get there.
So what keeps you coming back?
These guys, right? I mean, you come here and laugh for 4 days straight. It's an incredible group of personalities. So much fun to be with. I mean, you watch Mark Pavlich on the ice, right? Ralphie Cox is here. Watch Ralphie. Mark Johnson. They're just fun to watch. It's a great experience.
Yeah. And it's a different experience for you.
Oh yeah,
seeing these guys, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's better than this? You have a chance to spend a few days with your friends, tell old war stories. Interact with the campers. I mean, had some great conversations with the campers, especially some of the guys in the armed services. Sit down and tell how they used our story to motivate their troops. It's like, wow, who would have thought?
Any memories from Lake Placid in '80 you'd like to share?
I met my wife here. She was a hostess in the Olympic Village, an interpreter in the Olympic Village.
Can we say her name?
Her maiden name is Jacqueline Minicello.
Can you spell that?
Minichello.
And the first name?
Jacqueline.
Okay.
It's Jaclyn. Jacqueline was working in the entertainment complex in the village. We met. We were married a year later. So I'm the luckiest guy on the team, right? That's had the greatest moment in sports of the 20th century and met my wife during the experience.
So Lake Placid has special meaning
for you.
Absolutely.
You
come back other than this?
We've been back a few times as a family. Came back in for the first time maybe 20 years later and had to actually sit down because my knees were shaking. Just looking around, and I can still look up and in my mind's eye I can see the rafters shaking as they were. The sound in here was just incredible.
Where do you live now?
We're in Connecticut. We spent 30 years on Long Island. That's where Jackie is from. And then we recently moved next door to a little sister in Connecticut.
Great.
Yeah.
Go downhill.
For more on this story and the latest news and sports from New York's Olympic region, check out the Lake Placid News. Meet the people who make this a great place to live. We're on stands now. Grab a coffee, some tea, a beer, whatever. Spend some time with your print copy. Get away from that screen for a while. Or, if you insist, check us out online at lakeplacidnews.com. Special thanks to Dan Berggren for providing our music. Learn more about Dan and his fascinating story, a life in radio, education, folk music, at berggrenfolk.com. Thanks for listening. I'm Andy Flynn, editor at the Lake Placid News. We are Lake Placid.